welcome to another episode of Shelby DIY. My name is Patty Henning and we're in the back studio of Fabulous Finishes. And today we are going to demonstrate using cottage paints. It's a new line that we recently added here at Fabulous Finishes. There's probably about 20 colors that we have so far. I really like the line because I was able to hand pick my own colors, which is nice. So we kind of filled in voids that our customers have and some colors that are favorites of ours and kind of following the trends. This paint is clay mineral based specifically. I like it. It's probably the go-to paint we're letting people know about if they really want to paint with just one color or they want a nice finish when it dries. They can buff it to a pretty sheen. A lot of the paints that we have are pretty matte to flat when they dry. And they, people like a little bit of a sheen, so they want to put a top coat on it. This paint, I don't know if you can catch the glare or not from it, but this has no top coat on it. This was just a coat of the purple and then a wash of this Angora pink. And then when it dries, we took a dry rag to it and just really gave it some muscle, and we can buff it to a really pretty sheen. So that's a real positive for people. I love it. So today what we're going to do is we're going to work on this little drop table, and I already last night painted the top, one coat, covers fabulously, and we're going to just do a quick demo on showing how that paint applies. And then I already painted the base in a different color, and we'll be able to demonstrate how we can use these paints and any other paints that we have here as a wash. People are often asking, like, well, what's a wash? What's that mean? It's really when you take the paint and you really water it down and you apply it and you can soften it off, and it gives this kind of effect where this was really this color to begin with. It's not that you have to paint your whole piece with the pink and then sand it back or wet wipe it back. You can just do it by adding a lot of water to your paint, applying it on, softening it back. So we're going to do that on the legs. And this whole thing kind of came about because I did this sample. The base is gray linen, and then I just did this simple stencil in, it's called our Gorgeous Gray. And I loved it so much that that's what we're going to do on this table. So we're going to take the legs dark, and we'll do a wash, and then we're going to do a stencil on top, and we'll show you how to do like a continual stencil. So to the paint, these paints come in 8 ounce, they come in 16 ounce, they come in quarts. The price point's pretty much the same as everything else here. They cover really nice. Just to give you an idea of like how nicely they cover. You can just see with one swipe, I'm pretty good. Some of the paints that we have here, I like to paint it real thin because when they dry back, you can catch a lot of the brush strokes. With this paint, you can go a little bit, you don't have to go that thin. You can leave a little bit more of that paint on because it really does dry back nicely. And then you have minimal sanding to kind of knock out any of your application marks. So if I was going to paint this whole piece, this is how I would start. I'm following the grain. I had to really pay attention on the front end of it because of it being a rounded table. Kind of don't know which way to start. And it really would matter when you flip the table that you don't want your grain pattern going like this. So I'm following the grain, and I'm using a natural bristle brush. Oops. And I just continue down my piece. Now, as far as prep goes with your pieces in this paint, it follows all the same rules that our other paint lines do. You want to start with a clean and dry, wax-free, grease-free piece. You don't have to sand your piece. As you can see, we're going right over the existing finish. You don't have to prime. You don't have to strip it. You just pick your paint color and you start painting. Okay, so that's pretty much how I'm not going to finish this because I really don't care about the bottom. I'll finish it later and we'll move on to more important things. But that's really kind of how you apply this paint. The other color is Gorgeous Gray. It's one of our darker grays. Where did I do the spoon here? Okay. And this is the color that I used down on the legs here. Okay, so I'm just going to touch that little spot up. So for this one, if I continued on, if you're going on to trim like this, it's easier just to really use these nice natural bristle brushes, you know, jam it in there good. And then just give yourself a nice clean follow-up. Again, this paint, one of the real nice qualities is it stays open, meaning it doesn't start to dry up real quick and set. It gives you a lot of time where I can paint this whole thing out and then go back and fiddle down here a little bit, and it'll allow me to do that. Again, that's like a real nice quality trait, especially for people that are newer to the paints. Okay, so obviously I would flip the top up and I would get my whole pineapple guy down here. And if you're a lighter painter and you like to just go leaner and you want to be more delicate and have your coat a little bit less, that's okay. And what'll happen is when it dries, you might see through it a little bit, and then you would just get your paint back out. You could even thin it down with a little bit of water and just give it another brush. When I do things like this, kind of hard, you know, some people want to wrap it around. You can get it on any way you want, but these longer stretches, I like to take it up and down. Just seems a little more natural, but to each his own. Okay, so this would be like this. Okay. Works kind of like that. And again, this will just all be finished later. And it'll look beautiful. Okay, now as far as the washes go, just to give you an idea, this was that color that we were just painting, okay? And I started to put it on, then I wiped it off because I figured I would show here. If I go back to my gray, okay, I can do it two ways. Usually the way I like to do it is, I like to add a little bit of water to my paint. And so I have water right here, and I'm just going to add some onto my plate. There's no right or wrong amount, okay? And I'm going to go to a smaller brush. Okay, but if we looked at it like even on paper, it's like very much a milky kind of covering, okay? And if I put it on like this, and I take a soft rag and I just soften it back, you can get all levels of that. If I added more water, I would get it even more sheer. Okay, it just depends. It's very, very simple. What's nice about it is you use like pretty much no paint, which is a joy. So if I was going to do this on a leg, I could just brush it, make a nice little splattery mess. Okay, like this. And then I'm just going to take my rag and soften it back. You see how pretty that is? Gives a nice little sheer. And then I don't have to fiddle with sanding and doing. I can still do that to reveal some of the wood color if I want. But that is how you get that nice pretty wash effect that looks like it's just aged back and just soft and subtle. So this will go around. I'll do the whole piece like that, the whole lower level. And then I'll go to the top and stencil. So when people talk about washes, that's pretty much what it is. We're going to let this dry a little bit, what we did do, so that I can flip it and we can show the stenciling. And we'll go to commercial break and then we'll be back.
My name is Cheryl Steinhurst. My husband and I are owners of Steiny's Tavern. We're located on the northwest corner of 25 Mile and Shelby Road. We offer a unique dining experience from our restaurant to our off-site catering. Everything we make is from scratch. We utilize Michigan-made products whenever possible. We're open 7 days a week. We offer daily lunch and dinner specials, and we carry the most craft beers on draft in all of Macomb County. So plan on coming out to Steiny's Tavern, where you come for the food and stay for the party.
Hi, we're back after the break here, and we are going to now work on the top of this table. This is the gray linen, and we are going to use this gorgeous gray that we were painting on the legs, and we're going to create this stencil pattern on the whole inner. So it's just this small sheet here, but what we do is we're going to use these guides, and I'll show you how we can continue the pattern around. So what I have here is the gorgeous gray. I am also going to spritz just a little bit of water on an extra surface. because sometimes when I stencil, I like to just not have the full strength, but I don't really want to water this down because I don't want my paint to bleed through the stencil. So I love these brushes, or at least get yourself a stencil brush. We carry all of these here. And you know, I go into that paint, but then I really off it, okay? And I positioned this head damask right kind of in the center of my table. And then I'm gonna go from there. So I'm going to just start pouncing on this. I can't do a traditional kind of swirl because these paints will bleed, and I don't like to use any kind of stencil adhesive because I find that it's just gonna pull my paint, and I don't want that to happen. So what I'm doing is I just keep my hand on the stencil. I don't tape it. I don't take any risk of pulling any of my surface. And then I get some of the paint on there, and I just bang this out like this. And I want to also get these little guides, all these little weird things on the stencil that don't seem like they make much sense. I want those in there as well. And what I did, let's see, where did I put it? I can use, like, you know, a piece of sandpaper or a piece of paper, something, but I want to put it and hide my edge because I don't want that spray of the overflow to go onto my table. So when I do these ones close by the edge, I like to just give myself some extra protection there, okay? Like this one. Oh, moved it a little bit. Okay. There we go. So bang him out, move this out of the way, get some more on the brush. So again, if I went into the brush and I had that much on there, I really want to just make sure a lot of it's off before I go back to my stencil. These little guys that I'm hitting on the side, they call them like guide marks, and what they'll do is they'll allow us to line the stencil up so we can continue the pattern, okay? So when I stencil, I don't really color in my image. I like to just leave it real natural, where it's just kind of filled in darker in some areas and lighter in others. You know, to each his own. Everybody has their own style. Some people like to just sit and pound it out until the whole thing is filled in. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go off of this guide right here. So what I have to do is I have to find it on my pattern. Okay, it's in here somewhere. And there it is right there. Some of them are real tricky, but once you find it, you're good. And I'm glad I found that because I didn't plan ahead of time, and I would have been really embarrassed if that took a really long time to figure that out. So what I'm going to do now is, that paint was applied so lightly that I pretty much can continue right on. It's not like I have to wait for this to dry, because you see how lightly I put it on. So you get the idea now. I'm just going to bang it out, get the rest of this done. Okay. And by bouncing around and moving my stencil, I'm not just filling this image. That's how I kind of get that natural lighter in some areas, darker in others. Okay, and again, I want to make sure I have something that'll protect me from going over. Okay, fill that guy in. Now I can make the choice of if I want to go up onto this detail, which I really don't want to. So for here, I'm going to push my stencil down a little bit, and I'm not going to do any of these that are on this. Other times when it's just too much of a pain to try to control it, I'll let it kind of flow over, and then I'll get my paint and I'll touch up back to this lighter color. Okay. Okay, and then I'll lift that one, and then you can see the pattern starting now. So I'll go over here, okay, and I can Try to find that guy. Lay him back down. And usually you'll find several elements. It's not just going to be one. You're going to see that this also picked up a few other ones, so it allows you to really get a good lay on where your next one goes. Okay. You get a good arm workout when you do these kind of all over stencils and having to bang it out. We do have a stencil cream here. Caramel Colors makes it. We've used that before on previous episodes. But I like to use the paints a lot when I stencil because you can kind of coordinate the colors. And they're great to stencil with, but they're not as nice and creamy as those stencil creams are, so you can't just do a nice little casual swirl all about. Now I am going to get that little guy right there, because I'll show you when I lift this. This is a perfect little example for you. Make sure I don't get over on this. Okay. Okay, so if I lift this, okay, you can see that this is empty. Now technically this whole pattern should fill everything, including probably a little bit here if you really wanted to get it perfect, which that'll end up bugging me, so I will, you know, before this table goes out to the floor, I'll find the little part that is, and I'll make sure that, you know, that little bit gets stenciled on there. And then if I, like I said, if I overflow onto this, then later I'll just get my paint out and clean that up. But when you do this, there are pieces where you might have to just, see, it's right here. I just found it without even knowing I was gonna, so we might as well do that one, okay? Put that right in there. And I just committed to not caring about the edge because I figured it would be easier to do touch-ups. But see how that made that hole fill in, and now it's perfect. So I think you can see the pattern starting here. Okay, and you know, so far we've just picked it up, put it back down, picked it up, put it back down. Let's see, that guy goes here, so now I have to find a different leaf. I think I'd be okay if I wasn't upside down. It would be a little easier to spot. Maybe Katie's eyes can help me, maybe not. Okay, so okay, where's it at? Oh, okay. You're gonna be able to take a, all right. You can? Okay, good, because yeah, I'm trying to figure out where it is, darn it. All right, that goes there, so that's gonna go up here somewhere. Where is it? The wrong guys. Heck. Gosh, Katie, I'm sorry. Should have done this. Ah. Oh my Lord in heaven. Flower. Okay, there's the flower. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing like a total blank now. What's going on? Can you see it? That's that. This has to go around here somewhere. This one goes here. Oh, dirty rat. Oh my Lord. Okay. How much time do we have?
5 minutes.
Okay. Not anymore, because you wasted it trying to find the gum. Okay, so here we go. Beck had a hard time finding that one there. Maybe sometimes you just have to walk away, stare at it. Okay, so I'm going to bang that out. There. Go there. Okay. And then we got a little swirl. Let's see where that little swirl guy is. Swirl's easy to find. Okay. And we'll throw these in down here. And when you get areas here where the stencil is, obviously my surface is lower and I have this higher ridge here, so my stencil isn't even, I don't have to worry so much about pushing that down and making sure it fills. When you have a dry brush and you don't have much on your brush, you can literally bounce that stencil and it'll create that pattern right through it. So you don't have to worry about bending it and doing that kind of crazy stuff. Okay, so I would just continue on and just keep working this until my whole surface was done. Some stencils come where they're bigger and you can get more of your surface done instead of just a single sheet. But sometimes the single sheets are nice as well because they work for even smaller areas instead of, you know, just having a big, huge sheet. Okay, so what we're going to do here, you get the idea of how this fills in your all over pattern. When you're done, you want to soak this in water, get it cleaned, because this does start to build up on your stencil. Okay, but we're going to flip this because I'm going to show you one last thing that we can do here. And you can get an idea for how pretty that's already starting to look once it's finished, okay? Actually, we're going to go to this leg here. Okay, so this was the leg that we did the wash on. Now, if I want to do any kind of finish sanding before I would buff it, okay, I could just I take like a 4 or 500 grit sandpaper. It's usually black. It's just perfect for kind of popping little detail. It's not like a heavy duty at all. Okay, so I can do a little bit of that if I choose to. This paint wet wipes really, really nice. It doesn't just go instantly where it eats through, but I don't really feel the need to do any kind of wet wiping because I like how sheer it is already, okay? And you can take just a dry cloth, okay, and you can give it a nice little oomph and it'll create a sheen. Or what you can do, what I wanted to show you was this buffer brush. We have this, it works with all of the paints. It's a great tool for if you use wax, because what it does is it takes the effort off of you having to buff things out. You just hook this drill brush to like one of your drills here, tightens up, okay? And then what it does is it buffs your finish. Works great with this paint. I think you get the idea, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over to Katie so she can get a good view of just how, I don't know if you can see that bottom foot, how shiny it is. If you can see that or not. Just the sheen on that already, just from buffing. No, harder to tell. Harder to tell, and we don't have the zoom today, so it might be hard for you to see it, but already that has like a sheen that actually takes a lot of effort with wax, and it comes up, it looks very much like this piece right here that has that nice sheen from buffing. I will admit that probably the drill brush gets you there much quicker than if I was to use my arm muscle, but it's not like you have to have that brush in order to do that, and some people might not even want that high of a sheen, but I just think it's really, really pretty. And the fact that I don't have to use a wax over it to get that, and this paint isn't going to come off. So, you know, it's going to harden and cure, nice finish. It's, you know, it's a furniture finish, so you'll clean it with like your, you know, mild cleaners. If you want a harder, more durable finish, then you could put your favorite top coat on top of this paint. Obviously, if I'm going to use this for any kind of service, I wouldn't just leave it buffed. I would put, you know, if you like water-based, then do a water-based top coat. You could put a wax on it if you prefer, your choice. So hopefully you enjoyed that little segment today of Shelby DIY, where we were able to show you just how to use the cottage paints. They're great paints. They cover fabulous. No sanding, no stripping, no priming. They work great, just like all of our other paints, with being able to use probably a teaspoon and wash your whole piece and soften it back and get a real cool shaded effect. And then again, like my favorites, I like to stencil, like the stencil and like the bling. Just a really pretty way to dress up your furniture. And that's today's segment. Hope you enjoyed it. You can find all of our products here at our studio or online. And see us next time for Shelby DIY.